How you doing? My name is Zaccai Curtis. I'm here to talk to you about my thoughts, my feelings, and some of the general knowledge that I picked up throughout the years on Afro Cuban jazz. To me, Afro Cuban jazz is an umbrella term. It encompasses mainly two styles. You have your mambo, instrumental mambo jazz, and then you also have your cubop. And both of these styles have been pioneered by legends such as Machito and his orchestra, Mario Bauza, also Dizzy Gillespie, Charlie Parker, Chano Pozo, and a lot of the bebop musicians. This is a very important time in American jazz music in terms of the fusion aspect. First time jazz has been fused with any other style of music, this was the time, and it has a lot to do with the location of it being in New York City. So you had musicians from Cuba that were already integrated into New York music and New York jazz, and now people like Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker were bringing this music into the limelight. This music was also pioneered and pushed by a lot of the mambo bands such as Tito Puente, Tito Rodriguez, and of course the Machito band on that side of the spectrum, the dance side of the spectrum, still playing many of the same clubs the jazz big bands were playing and still adhering to a lot of crowds in terms of dance music. So my influences include pianists such as Lily Martinez, Perochin, Ruben Gonzalez, and also Arsenio Rodriguez, a famous tres player from Cuba that really pioneered the modern way of playing mambo music. In the early 1940s, there was a band led by pianist Jose Corbello, and he had Tito Puente and Tito Rodriguez in it, and many other musicians that ended up being pioneers of cubop and mambo jazz, instrumental mambo in New York City. This band set a lot of the tone for tunes and how they should be played. I was introduced at an early age to musicians like Jose by the great Andy Gonzalez. Andy Gonzalez was a bass player from New York that pioneered Latin jazz in all types of ways. I use the term Latin jazz because it's not just Afro-Cuban jazz. He was into so many different styles. I know that because at one point he had moved his apartment in New York City, and he let me and my brother, my father of course, take his record collection and hold on to it for a few years. So we got a chance to see what he was listening to, and actually he used to come to the house almost every month, and he would actually play some records for us and sit down with us and tell us what to listen to. One of these pianists he was telling us to listen to was Lily Martinez. He would show us music videos of things that we never saw before. This is before YouTube. So I was fortunate enough to be blessed with some knowledge by some incredible musicians, including Andy Gonzalez. One of the things he had told me, and this is when I first started playing music and Afro-Cuban music and cubop, is to try to really pay respect to the music and the composers. I remember we were in the basement of my house and he was there, and we were going over a tune that he's both pioneered in Latin jazz style and in salsa. Under his band, Conjunto Libre with Manny Oquendo, he was the MD for Manny Oquendo y Libre. And also he was part of the Jerry Gonzalez and the Fort Apache band. Jerry Gonzalez is his brother. And they developed a way of playing Afro-Cuban jazz or rumba jazz that really hasn't been played like that before. Me and my brother were definitely in love with this band. We couldn't stop listening to the music, both of the bands, Libre and Fort Apache. So the song Obsession was written by Pedro Flores. And this piece was played as a bolero or a slower composition, and then eventually sped up at the end, or in some cases as a rumba and then sped up at the end. I've played it different ways. In the second section of the song, we would call it the mambo section or the montuno section. The piano player would play what's called a guajeo. The guajeo is a repeating ostinato that the pianist plays. Most of the musicians in an Afro-Cuban setting are going to be playing some sort of ostinato, repeating ostinato. And it's generally called a tumbao. On the piano, it's called a guajeo or a montuno. Now, the tradition comes from the tres, and how this is before piano was added into the band by Arsenio Rodriguez. So I used to listen to so much of this music. I would actually play it on headphones just like I have now, and I would play along to the recordings. For very long periods of time, I would play with my favorite recordings, even though I didn't know much of what I was doing. Luckily, I had some people help me out, and they would help me with, guajeo here and a guajeo there, and then I would kind of have to figure everything else out, with my own ears. So, getting back to our story, I was in the basement with my band, or the band that I was playing with, and we were practicing this song, Obsession. Andy Gonzalez was there, and we asked him, what he thought. And one of the things he said to me, I never forgot. He said, the first thing a lot of piano players do is they play a lot of eighth notes on the piano. They play a lot of music, a lot of notes. He said, but if you notice, some of the best guajeos swing the hardest when they don't have as many notes. So it made me rethink how I was approaching this music. And so instead of approaching it as trying to play the most impressive way, I would try to find that swing. And this led me to listen to many great pianists that have incredible swings on the piano, such as Eddie Palmieri, Perochin, Papo Luca, Gonzalo Rubalcaba, many great piano players. And I learned so much from that, and also keeping in mind all the other things that he would teach us about respecting the music and things of that nature. So, I would like to give a shout out to my teacher, Andy Gonzalez, maestro, who has just recently passed, but he'll always be in our memory, and we'll love him forever.